Hey, what's going on, future netrunners? Today we've got a lot of news to cover, including areas outside of Nighty City, loot, romance, endings depending on player choice, concerts, the creator Mike Pondsmith playing a character in the game, more Keanu Reeves as Johnny Silverhand info, and a game update on the presence of loading screens. So with so much to cover, let's get started right away. The first bit of info is something that CD Projekt Red has touched on before, and that's the areas outside of Nighty City. In case any of you didn't know, Nighty City in Cyberpunk 2077 will not be the only area in the game. Instead, there will be locations outside the city for players to discover and explore. Badlands outside of the Nighty City are a hostile place. The flora there is very minimal, so is the fauna, mostly extinct or eaten with the help of a much worse animal, humans. It's not a place you want to go alone or unarmed. The nomads living in the outskirts are wraiths and avocados. They have their own conflict and wars between each other. Wraiths are up to no good with the player. Avocados, on the other hand, are slightly more keen to have a deal with you. So in regards to places outside of Nighty City to explore, we've already seen hints of what this looks like in trailers and screenshots. But I'm very excited to see what the locations and NPCs are like in this area. It sounds like it'll mostly consist of two groups, who are very much at war with each other, but I hope there are still plenty of other NPCs in this area as well. And that it's not already decided which group is good or bad. Maybe throughout the game we can either pick a group side to play on, simply sit back and watch them fight, or maybe even convince them to enter into peace with one another. Nevertheless, I'm also excited to see if the areas outside of Nighty City are much more lawless, and see how the street cred levels and economy differ between the areas. Since we already saw this in The Witcher 3, with prices of fish differing between a town near water and one that was more inland. Up next we have loot. Loot is important, and besides all your usual stuff for crafting, weapons, and armor, there are collectible items to find. If you like looting, it might become handy to install special chips that'll help you find secret stuff. Of course, the stuff you find is also upgradable. NPCs will also leave clues as to where loot can be hidden. We all knew loot would be a big factor in this game, much like any RPG, as we can do the usual crafting of weapons and armor, and being able to upgrade basically everything you find. I'm really expecting this game though to have some crazy upgrades for weapons, as I'm a huge fan of weapons with elemental effects. It's also cool to hear though that we can install upgrades to ourselves to find secret areas. I'm guessing on the importance of upgrades and NPC clues needed to find these areas that they'll have some pretty powerful gear and weapon sets, similar once again to The Witcher 3, which did a great job with armor sets, such as my personal favorite, the Griffin set. And as any good RPG, when you're not finding weapons and armor, you might as well find a little love, which leads us right into relationships. The relationship system in Cyberpunk 2077 has been stated to be deep relationship system. You can befriend a lot of NPCs. You can also become more than a friend to them. Having multiple relationships at once is also possible. Of course, not every NPC will have the same sexual orientation as you. If you want to bang them, you might need to try a different playthrough. I don't want to do spoilers, but we want to write very strong characters. We want to have personalities that you can interact with. If you remember from The Witcher 3, where Yennefer and Triss had very different personalities, it was interesting navigating how you would talk to one or the other. So to that effect, we selected some NPCs who will have very rich relationships. But we also have, since it's a modern world you know, one-night stands exist. So something like that is also possible. And also, like in the real world, you can just exchange money for sex. To me, this sounds like the perfect blend of The Witcher 3, Mass Effect, and GTA 5. Similar to what we found in The Witcher 3 and Mass Effect, the game will have complex characters that we the player can try and romance throughout the game and engage in serious relationships with. However, unlike The Witcher and Mass Effect, we won't be limited to just one relationship, and instead we'll be able to have more than one partner, without the other getting upset, or both of them ganging up on us for a prank. But for those players who want to experience one-night stands and paid experiences, well, similar to GTA 5, those will certainly exist. But based on how detailed this game already has been, I'm excited to see if there'll be repeated partners, and if any drama or other negative connotations will surround these options, maybe even affecting the ending. Regarding the endings, CD Projekt Red hasn't said much, but has said that player choices, romance options, side quests, and more will all factor into the ending of the game to provide a very personal experience. To me, this is great to hear, and I really hope it's a case of where the more you put into the game, then the more you get out of it, especially since this isn't a game I'll be rushing at all. Adding to player choice, it sounds like CD Projekt Red will continue in their goal of not telling players how to play or what to think, and will instead leave it up to us the players on what to make of the world and its ways. The story director states this in a quote where he says, "It's a very noir game in the sense that it accepts the world for what it is. Cyberpunk 2077 does comment on it at times, but it never tells you how to live. You're a victim of circumstances, and you go with the flow. You sometimes change the flow, but you can't reverse it. In that sense, we will show you what can happen if you go to the extremes of body modification, but we won't say that it's bad. The decision will always be yours to make." So we have these ads in Cyberpunk 2077, right? And they often show products or movies that don't really exist in the game, but the fantasies people buy or watch them. One of these ads is a poster for a movie called Foreign Body. The poster shows a person holding back their own hand, which is holding a knife and trying to stab them. I think the whole concept is, in a way, beautiful, very dark and Black Mirror-esque. Gameplay-wise, it also opens up some cool avenues. I mean, during this year's E3 demo, we've seen these little daemon programs that are able to quick hack an enemy into committing suicide. I'm all for games creating worlds, and complex moral and ethical conflicts that make the player make some tough choices, and decide how they wish to act during these events. So I'm glad that CD Projekt Red isn't necessarily telling us what's good or bad, or how to act. After all, this is a game, and a role-playing game nevertheless. So it's good to see that we the players can act how we want, and decide for ourselves if we think body modifications are an issue or not. I'm sure there'll be plenty of gaming journalists and sites though, that will complain about this and try and convince us why something is an issue and push in some modern day politics. But at least the developers won't. I'm glad that they too won't be bending the knee to access media. After all, I love getting involved in the deep philosophies of these fictional issues, such as body modifications. This was a big point in the Deus Ex games, and it was done in a very realistic and interesting way in my opinion, so I hope to experience something similar here. Moving on from the game's world, we have some more cool info about concerts in the game. The lead quest designer of Cyberpunk stated in a recent radio interview that they were preparing something similar to Priscilla's concert in The Witcher 3, but much bigger and greater in Cyberpunk 2077. This sounds great to me. After all, that was one of my favorite little details and parts of the game, as it truly made the world feel alive, and the song A Mini Concert was beautiful. I'm guessing of Johnny Silverhand being in the game, and the rock group Samurai being pretty well known in the Cyberpunk world, that the more likely possible event that might be in the game is a brain dance of one of their concerts. With Silverhand confirmed being dead in the game, it'd be a cool way to relive his great musical talents, and have that same in-game concert experience. Speaking of Johnny, we have some more info about the character and Keanu Reeves. The story director commented once more on Keanu playing Johnny by stating, "Keanu Reeves has this history of playing characters who fight for something, and Silverhand is definitely fighting for something, or at least he was in 2020. When we thought of an actor for this role, we didn't approach it on who's the biggest celebrity right now basis. The actor had to have a connection with the character, so it made sense. Cyberpunk 2077 is not a game about Keanu Reeves, it's a game about Johnny, who was played by Keanu. I think that history played a role in how Johnny finally turned out. A good actor, and Keanu is a great actor, will infuse their character with a bit of their own special thing. I think, thanks to Keanu, Johnny's more relatable and complex, but at the same time, has not lost any of his original rebelliousness and punch. Johnny's what they call a rocker boy, a charismatic and influential leader that has it in for the man, and has a background in the military, from which he deserted for personal reasons. He was also a member of the rock group Samurai, which has become a symbol of resistance for many in Night City. He also has run a lot of corporate espionage in the past, and looks set to do a little more. Obviously, I love Keanu Reeves. After all, my parents named me after him, and I love so many of his early movies and his current ones. Somehow, I swear this man really doesn't age. But I'm happy to hear that once again, CD Projekt Red has reaffirmed that they have chosen Keanu Reeves as Silverhand due to his acting abilities and how well of a match he was for the character, instead of just for the sake of finding a random celebrity to throw in. It also sounds like Keanu Reeves has thoroughly enjoyed playing this character in the game, and has found a lot of ways to make Johnny more complex and relatable than originally written, and how Keanu connected really well to Silverhand. Of course, with how many characters Keanu has played, involving many of the same name as John, I can't imagine it was too hard. Moving on from Keanu's involvement is also the announcement that the creator himself will be in the game. CD Projekt Red have consulted with Mike Pondsmith, the creator of the Cyberpunk tabletop game that Cyberpunk 2077 is based on, throughout the RPG's development. And Pondsmith has revealed that he too will play a role in the game. I have a role, actually recorded for one role, but they came up with a different one for me, but I can't tell you more than that. And I'm telling you that because there are a lot of fans who are going, he better be in the game somewhere, so I'm in the game. I'm figuring what happens is, at some point, Johnny Silverhand is playing his guitar, and I'll come out and play my bass. From these small details released, it sounds like he'll have more than a Stan Lee style cameo. As much as I'd love to see his character play bass with Johnny Silverhand, it seems like making him a quest giver would be the way to go. Among other things, Cyberpunk 2077 owes much of its world and narrative to Pondsmith, so casting him as someone who helps you explore this world would be a nice integration of the two. In any case though, it'd be cool to see the father of the Cyberpunk world in the game, when it's finally released in April 2020. Closing out this recent news blowout is the revelation that the game won't have any loading screens, other than when the player uses fast travel, and initially boots up the game. They want this game to be as seamless and immersive as possible, so if you want, you can play as long as you want in one sitting, and only experience the one loading screen. That to me is incredible. As we all know, most well-known RPG games are packed full of loading screens. Hopefully though, the initial load screen won't be quite as long as GTA 5's, as that one could take an absurdly long time in console. Well, that wraps up most of this recent news blowout in Cyberpunk 2077. There's a lot of mixed info that I was happy to hear about, including how the game handles romance, and the lack of forcing their views onto the player. But what do you all think? What was your favorite bit of info to learn? And what do you think the creator's cameo in the game will be? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and if you like this video and you want to see more like it, leave a like, share the video, and hit that subscribe button. And I'll see you all on the next Shepard Gaming video. Keyless Salai.